All right, what is up, everybody? We are here for another daily show on the Vendetta uh, podcast network. Today is currently February 2nd. Myself is Dom. I'm here with Milo. Probably just we're the two baseball heads here, so we're gonna talk your ear off about baseball a little bit. But first off, Milo, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Dom?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm excited to do it. The Daily Show, it's doing pretty well. We're seems to be a big hit. So far we haven't missed a day. Um, Yesterday we had Chickster and Toothpaste. Those two kind of recapped some of the NBA stuff, football stuff, Tom Brady and Rodgers, LeBron, all that jazz. So yeah, here we are today. Not much in the Vendetta world going on besides, like I said, just the daily recap show. Um, so unless there's anything Vendetta related you want to bring up, we can jump right into it.
Um, Not really. I mean, some of our writers, there's a few interns that are shining, and they should be commended. I can't think of any names at the moment, but hats off to those who are actually working their butts off. There's a few of them. That's all I can say.
Yeah, the intern class this year started off pretty bad, but
Yeah,
there's a few that are shining, so that's good.
yeah.
Um, Wanted to jump in since we're going to talk about baseball. Kind of two things about stadium stuff. We saw the other day the Rays. Um, they announced plans that they actually are going to stay in St. Petersburg. They want to build a stadium kind of in the same area. So, what do you think about that?
It's a surprise to me. I thought that there wasn't really a market for baseball in Tampa. I thought they were going to move somewhere like Nashville or Portland or Montreal. You know, one of those obvious places. But I guess there's enough of a financial backing. I hear from people that live in the area that if they build a stadium that's actually in Tampa and not, St. Petersburg, for instance, I think that's where it's at. It's just not in the main, not near the urban center of Tampa. That's that's the problem. That's a big problem. So maybe more asses get into the seats. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, they've always struggled with attendance, like that's when one of the
Mm-hmm.
teams that you always find the attendance jokes. They have no fan base. Even when they made the
Yeah.
World Series so many years ago, they couldn't even sell out a game. So,
Yeah.
there was all the chatter about whether they'd move somewhere else in Florida or even Montreal. But I mean, if they get a new stadium, good for them. They deserve it for sure. Maybe, a new
Yeah.
stadium, more fancy, that's going to bring in more fan attendance. But Tampa's just that St. Petersburg area. It's proven not to be good. They even when they're good, like we saw the past couple of years, they've been going on some runs. They can't sell out
Yeah.
that stadium for the hell of them. So
And I have so much respect for that franchise and so many players and the management. It's such a well-run organization. They deserve the best, and they deserve a new ballpark. And I hope that this benefits and creates revenue for them. And they don't have to you know just be like a penny baseball team, just spending pennies on players that they follow that Moneyball thing very well, and obviously they went to the World Series in 2020. But yeah, let's see how this new ballpark benefits because their Tropicana is a dump. It is a dump, and I think we can all agree on that. It's the worst baseball stadium in the majors, pretty much.
yeah, and I mean, you know, along with that, you got the other team that follows the same philosophy out in the West Coast. But the A's at least, or Tampa at least, are committed to staying where they are. A's obviously not so much. Saw the other day, front office, all that. They're in Vegas currently, exploring ballpark options over there. So
Mm-hmm.
sounds like baseball team in Vegas is becoming more and more of a reality. Even though I don't really want to see that, but
Of course not.
my opinion on it,
No.
it's yeah. Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. No, what I was going to say is that Vegas has a lot of opportunity. It would be a major market. Look what they do with the Raiders, and they have the Golden Knights. It's just blossoming as kind of a sports mecca these days. And I mean, what would they do? They have that new brand spanking new AAA ballpark for the Aviators out in Summerlin. So what becomes of that? There are questions on the table here. If they were to really enhance the franchise and in Las Vegas, what would they do with the AAA stadium and the AAA franchise? I mean, that's wasted tax right there.
Yeah, and Vegas it's never been. Vegas isn't a city for existing franchises. You see what happened. The Golden Knights expansion team. They were able to build up their fan base, and very quickly. I mean, you saw their first year they went to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, let's see how Vegas is able to accommodate a baseball team, because it's coming. I know that they'll have a baseball team at some point. I think that they're going to have a stadium that's like reminiscent of Chase Field in Arizona, just with the extreme temperatures that happen in Vegas during the summer. I mean, it's unsustainable for baseball in the summertime with how hot it gets in that
Yeah, it has
city,
to be an indoor stadium. It can't.
Yeah,
it
it
can't be
has to
anything
be
else.
domed. Yeah. And, also, I mean, Vegas Strip, I believe, is over 2,000 feet above sea level. The ball travels.
Oh,
that thin, arid air, they're going to have to bring a humidor in. It's going to be interesting. I'm excited. I don't know if you are, because you're an Oakland A's fan, but it would be cool to have a Major League Baseball team 4 hours away from where I'm at currently.
Yeah, like I said, baseball in Vegas, it's going to be really fun. I think it'd be a huge hit for the market. I just think it should be an expansion team. Because like I was saying about, existing franchise, because then look at the Raiders. I'm a Raider fan too, and I've been to that stadium. I've been to Allegiant. It's amazing, but it's almost not worth it because the fan base doesn't exist anymore. You go to a game, it's not that same feeling you had in Oakland. You go to a game when they're playing the Chiefs, and it's all red. We have no home field advantage anymore. The A's already struggle with attendance. Now just imagine them playing in a tourist destination. You'll be lucky to see maybe 10 A's fans in there, actual real A's fans. They're not going to drive from Oakland or fly from Oakland to Vegas for 82 games. It's too hard.
Yeah, you're going to have to garner some new fans because, speaking from experience, I mean, I went to school in Nevada. A lot of my friends are from Vegas, and a lot of them are Dodger fans because that's the closest Major League Baseball team right there, So you're going to have to advertise it. You're going to have to sell it, as they're probably going to change the name. I mean, the Las Vegas Athletics doesn't really have that ring. Probably going to be gambling or Western related or something like that. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I told myself I'll be a fan if they relocate. Keep the name and history and all that. Fine, I'll stick with them. But I can't stand with them if they rebrand. Then they just become a whole nother franchise, a whole nother direction. It's just all that history you had, specifically in Oakland. The Raiders are a little different. They were moving all over the place back in their day. Once the A's came to Oakland, they stayed put there for over 50 years now. That's they won 4 championships there. It's been an historic set. So I think
go ahead. Sorry.
Because I don't know if you've seen the renderings for their they want to build it downtown Oakland on the waterfront, kind of how the Giants Stadium are. I don't see what the problem was with that. No one seems to be on board with it. It's issue with money and all that, but it's if you see the rendering, it's a beautiful ballpark right on the water. Big. They're planning on building, restaurants and hotels and business parks all around it. That would make that city go absolutely crazy. And as someone in Oakland, you already lost 2 teams. You lost the Warriors to San Francisco. You lost the Raiders to Vegas. That city, they could go bankrupt, we could say, if the A's leave. I don't know how they're going to function losing all 3 of their major sports teams.
Yeah, you
but
need
I
to
just don't.
bolster that infrastructure some way, and major professional sports is that way in a lot of ways. What do they have? I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, Oracle, and you know, you got Oracle and the Coliseum right next to each other, and they're just going to sit vacant once the A's leave.
Yep.
And what are they going to do? Use it for concerts? I don't think so, because musical acts want to go to San Francisco. They want to go, Shoreline Amphitheater, down south. It's not. It's not a location. It's not a destination. So they need to. If Oakland wants, it's about the city as a whole, and if
Yeah.
Oakland wants to maintain any sort of decency for their people and for their fans, they gotta keep that baseball team. They got to keep that baseball team for
Yeah, because like
Oakland's
you
sake.
said, the Coliseum, that ain't no destination site, you know? Even when I go there for
No.
games, I just where it's at, it's such a bad spot. Like, no one wants to go there, even if it's for a baseball game. So,
Yeah.
Oakland in general, it's obviously not the best place to be, but you go
Hmm.
somewhere more towards downtown, you go somewhere on the waterfront, at Howard Terminal where they want to go. It'll
Hmm.
completely revamp the image of that city too, having that brand new ballpark, having all this infrastructure around it. Because yeah,
Yeah.
and so many people want it built on the Coliseum site, and I'm just like, it's a shithole down there. Like nobody wants to
Yeah.
go there.
Yeah. 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 Got to say, downtown Oakland's beautiful. If they could do something with that, it reminds me a lot of Brooklyn, downtown Brooklyn. Just, there's a lot of culture, there's a lot of vibes out there. And, you know, unfortunately, where the Coliseum is currently at, I mean, you got to worry about your stereo getting taken out of your car.
Yep.
And, I guess the one plus side currently about that whole stadium and that whole area is the fact that you can tailgate in the parking lot. So that's like the only one in
Yeah,
baseball
that's the
where
only
you can
big
actually
thing.
do
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping for the best for your team, because as a Dodger fan, we're kind of allies. We don't necessarily hate each other. We don't have any reason to hate each other.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I'm hoping for the best for him. Obviously, I prefer to see him, and it's funny when people ask me because I'm in Reno. I'm like, oh well, wouldn't you
mhm.
want your baseball team to be in the same state as you? It's a 7-hour
Yeah,
drive compared to a 4-hour drive to Oakland. So it's, essentially I'd have
completely
to fly
different.
to an A's game. Yeah, it's just as much as the Coliseum's a dump, as much as that area where it's at is just a shithole and the team sucks right now. It's
Yeah.
the history of that place. It's the energy that the Coliseum has. I'd much rather take a
It,
4-hour drive to a dump than a 7-hour drive to Vegas where there's no fan base.
yeah, people don't realize how far that drive from Reno to Vegas is, and it's a long, boring
Oh, it's
drive.
brutal.
That
Yeah.
drive is terrible, man. That the 95.
That's yep.
It's
At
just
some point, you just hit it. It's just nothing. It's dirt. It's nothing. It's
you're. It's basically Area 51 out there.
pretty much yeah.
I mean, you're just going through the Mad Max Badlands out there. All right. Anyways, what's the next topic that we should address for today, Dom?
Yeah. So we could bring into it, and it's a little bit Vendetta related since we did do a trivia game on it, all that.
Mm-hmm.
But fantasy baseball, I feel like now would be a good time to get a little bit content out for that. So I guess just what are
Absolutely.
your kind of? I'm assuming you played it last year. Um, So what would you say going into this year, your kind of sleeper picks or even busts, don't draft them would be?
So, for me, in terms of fantasy, I don't like to go after players who are injury prone. And that speaks volumes, because you're going to see a lot of people in the first round going after guys like Mike Trout and stuff like that. Mike Trout, he hasn't played a full season in about 4 years. I would
Yep.
not draft Mike Trout. I mean, that's like no way for me. You want to go after pitchers that, have longevity. It's about longevity. You can have a great pitcher like Clayton Kershaw or Corbin Burns or somebody like that, but they only throw 160 innings a year. You want to be careful with pitchers like that. Um, you want to look at longevity. Honestly, I'd rather have a pitcher that has a 3.2 ERA, wins 15 games than a pitcher that, doesn't even, let me say that sorry, 3.2 ERA pitcher has got to throw 200 innings for me.
All right.
If I'm having starters, they got to throw 200 innings, and have a knowledge of them not being injury prone. So, you don't want to have to always replace your players. You want durable, dependable guys that will come in there, be like your Iron Men for your team. So, look at your Freddie Freemans. They'll play 162 game seasons. He's not an injury prone guy, knock on wood. But you just got to be careful, especially with outfielders. You got to look for outfielders that just don't get hurt, but can obviously, be an impactful, player. And I think for fantasy, you really got to look at WAR, what that brings to the table. I think WAR is the most important one for any of it, especially offensive WAR. That's the one, because defensive stats don't matter at all in fantasy. You want to look at offensive WAR. And so I like to compile, I'm telling you the secrets.
Yeah, tell me your.
You want it. What I like to do, I like to obviously look at the durable players who have high WAR and write down about 10 or 15 for each position. And always, for me, I like to draft the weaker positions first, and the ones that have, a bigger, more talent. Like second base this year is amazingly talented. I was surprised about how good second base was. So I want to go after, I like catchers usually in the first round. That's usually my way to go. So, it's all a crapshoot in the end. You can have a very durable player like JT Realmuto, who plays 140 games a year, which is amazing for a catcher, and he could wind up on the IL. Who knows? So always have backup plans and look out for durability. That's what I like to look for in fantasy baseball.
Yeah, because every year I'll see that same thing. Someone will go take Mac Trout with the first or second pick, and I saw someone do that last year. It doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Just finding durability, offensive WAR, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Because I noticed, I had JT Realmuto on my team last year, and being a catcher, I think you want to find a good catcher. That's more valuable because depending how you score, how your points go. Because at least for me, we had putouts and assists counted as around a point or so. Catchers get a shit ton of those. You add that along with Realmuto going 3 for 3 with some RBIs.
Yeah.
He was consistently getting me around 30 points a game, or 30 points a day. So I think I would say catchers and first basemen are more on the valuable side, because especially if you play defensive stats, they're going to get you a lot of assists, a lot of putouts, and they're normally the big power guys. They're going to get you a lot of runs. So I would say those two I like to focus on a lot. And then pitching wise, I'm not a big fan of relievers. I don't know if you like relievers.
Yeah, neither am I.
Yeah.
They don't give you a lot of points at all. I will go with all starters because strikeouts are worth a lot in fantasy baseball. So if you can have 7 guys that give you 5 strikeouts a game, that's a buttload of points right there. Even if the pitcher doesn't have a quality start, that's still something right there.
Yeah,
I think that's very, very important to acknowledge. And then you got to look too. You have these guys that, could be very much under the radar, guys that, could really be impactful. You got to look for, obviously you got to be kind of sneaky with this and look for the players that people won't go after. For me, it's like Brandon Lau on base, who had a down year last year, but he was kind of hurt. You got to look for these players that are coming back off injuries or had injuries last year and are totally healthy this year. Max Muncy is one of those who, before last year was averaging 35 home runs a season. And, you know, he plays first base. He's versatile. He can play 5 positions. That's something else you want on your team for sure.
Yeah, because like someone
Not
like
5 positions. Yeah.
no, yeah, like someone like Luis
Yeah.
Reyes, like I had
Yeah.
him for a little bit, and that's what's nice having that guy who can play first, second, third. Because fantasy, it's a little different, with
Yeah.
where they list positions, but you get a
Yeah.
guy. That's what I like to have on my bench is a
Mm-hmm.
lot of more versatile guys like that. That way,
Yeah.
you play one game, your second baseman and your outfielder are both, it's an off day for them. That way you have a little bit more versatility to put those guys in, so.
Kike Hernandez, Chris
Yep.
Taylor, those types of guys, those super utility guys that can really play many positions and, do solid at the plate as well. And then, a big thing for me going back to catching, I like to have 3 catchers on my team at all times because, not only is it a very important position, it's also a very injury prone position. And you
Yep.
have a lot of catchers taking days off. A lot of teams have personal catchers, and that's a thing. So you definitely want to have versatility in that sense.
So for and I don't want to spoil your ideas or anything, but who would you
Sure.
say would be a good, probably a general first round pick for everyone's draft this year? Who do you think deserves to go number one?
I would go after Paul Goldschmidt, to be
Okay.
honest. Paul Goldschmidt, Freeman, and I would avoid guys. I mean, a good second round pick or third round would be like Ronald Acuna, but then again, he was coming off an injury last year, so I'm kind of going back against what I said. But people are going to go after Ronald Acuna because of his name mostly.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to look at players that, durable, can win you games. And I'd say drafting like a really impactful, powerful first baseman that is just kind of a 5 toolsy player, like I said, Freddie Freeman, Paul Goldschmidt. Those are the guys you want to go after. Even like Nolan Arenado. I mean, he had such a great season last year. He was one of the leaders in WAR and wins above replacement. Pretty insane to me, I got to say. I mean, somebody at the hot corner could be very, very impactful. What about you?
Where would you think?
Go.
For me, I mean, it's hard because that's what I kind of want to tie into was what about Ohtani? Do you think would you have him as a first pick, second pick overall?
Somebody's going to take him. But for me, his health always concerns me. I don't know what it is. I see
and
a guy. Ohtani, obviously he's amazing at the plate. He's amazing on the mound. But if you eliminate one of those, I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, like you look at the years where he had the Tommy John surgery and he was only at the plate, it wasn't as impactful. And so if he does hit any sort of blemish, it could be kind of polarizing for somebody who drafts him early on. That's not to say you shouldn't go after him. I think he will help your team out immensely, especially on the days where he is pitching and he is hitting. But, for me, health is so important in baseball, or for fantasy baseball, I should say. So that's my concern with Shohei.
yeah, because I was kind of called crazy for that last year because I was telling people that I don't think Ohtani is worth a fourth round pick. It's the reward was great. You get someone who is a starter and a hitter on your team, so you're pretty much drafting 2 players in one with that pick. But like last year, I think was the first year he kind of played a full season healthy. Because previous years it was the Tommy John, or he'd have some kind of other arm issue or oblique, whatever it was, and he'd be at some point he'd be limited to, okay, you're only going to pitch for a little bit, or you're only going to hit and be DH for a little bit. So I'm glad someone else thinks with that.
Yeah, I mean that type of stuff also affects your offensive output. I mean, you look at what Corey Seager what happened to him a few years ago, like 5 years ago, when he had Tommy John surgery on his right arm.
Mm-hmm.
He was having his worst offensive start of his career. I remember that. For 2 months, he only had 2 home runs, and he was batting like 250, which is very uncharacteristic for Corey Seager. So, obviously, you gotta swing. You swing with your hips and your shoulders, but obviously your arms come into play. You can't hit a baseball without your arms, you know.
Right, exactly. And I mean, that's what was kind of crazy. We saw Bryce Harper last year. He
Yeah,
same shit, but he just played DH, and he was actually hitting almost in better than before he got hurt.
yeah. That's another guy I wouldn't draft early on either, just because, you know, you never know if he's going to be really healthy or have a season like last year. I mean, that was broke his hand against Blake Snell. Or was that the year before? Correct me if I'm wrong. But
yeah, I believe it was the year before.
Okay, well, that was his MVP season. But anyways, he was injured part of last year. He only hit 18 home runs. So be wary of players like that. One thing, too, is if you have a player that's just slumping heavily, look at teams that need an offensive boost and are about to call up a rookie, because I'd say 80% of the time, no teams know how to pitch to a rookie coming up from the minor leagues. You look at guys like Yasiel Puig come up and bust out, especially a top prospect. They're going to offensively be amazing. And you saw that with Cody Bellinger a few years back. I think that's a good tip, is if you have a struggling player on your team, you want to go after a player that is tearing it up in the minors, who's a top prospect, who is about to be called up to the major leagues. I had a buddy that did that. He earned so many points with Cody Bellinger. And this was a few years back, but yeah.
Yeah, even someone like Michael Harris last year and did the same thing. Just comes up, rookie year, and look what happened. So,
yeah, Matt Olson. You know, if you had Matt Olson when he first came up, I mean, he hit 20 home runs in 50 games, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Pretty insane. Yeah, pretty insane. So, all right. Anyways,
what we can get into now. It won't be until around March, so we're a little month away. But besides, obviously, the baseball season starting, we have the World Baseball Classic. Since it happens it's 4 years, right?
Yes, it's 4 years. The last time
so,
was 2017.
17.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Yeah. What are you thinking into? Are there any teams specifically you think have the upper hand right now?
Dominican Republic, all the way.
Always, yeah. They always do.
This team especially, I don't see the United States getting past them. They talk about, and just look, talent is insane. I mean, just you have one, you have many, you have, so many. Be so. Even as a are crazy. Look at the roster, but when I see it,
I think it might be cutting out a little bit.
Oh no! Hear me now?
It's still a little bit there.
Shoot. My.
Say something one more time. Still a little bit, yeah.
Okay,
there we go. Yeah, it's better.
Sure. So I'm saying Dominican Republic up. You know what? I'm going to start right now because with our team, Republic World Ball Classic. All right. See what we keep adding. There is a picture. Find it. Third on Soto, Guerrero Jr. at first, Frankie Montas. Uh, good gracious, just goes on. Even on the bench, Franmil Reyes, Eloy Jimenez, Segura, Jorge Polanco, Cattell Marte, Ozuna, Oni Cruz, Robinson, Will Thomas. This team is nothing stopping the same. Just
Yeah,
the
I would
U.S.
have.
can have Bryce Harper.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. can have Harper. They can have Freddie Freeman. They can have all these guys. There's nothing can Republic got. They have an insane team, man. There's
And I would say my kind of because that's my pick. I mean, Dominican Republic, like you just listed, they're too stacked to lose to any of the teams. But I feel like a kind of a little under the radar, Team Mexico. I don't know if you've seen their roster a little bit. I know it includes some Dodgers. Julio Reyes, I believe he's on there, and I believe he's going to be team captain. But they got guys like Alejandro Kirk, Randy Rosarena, Jose Urquidy. Like I know they have some pretty, especially within the rotation. They have some. They may not be as well put together as Dominican Republic. They have a little bit of holes, but yeah, like we said, Luis Reyes, Alex Verdugo, I know is on there. Taiwan Walker. So they have. I see them. I don't see them winning it, but I see them going deeper than what I think people might expect them to.
no offense. I think the U.S. is still better than Mexico in terms of the World Baseball Classic team. I mean, the players that you are very solid players.
Mm-hmm.
Still into account, they still have Bryce Harper. That's what Trout's.
I think I might be cutting out a little bit again.
Oh shoot! Anyway,
Yeah.
you know, I'm gonna take these out.
Okay. You're on mute currently.
Hello?
There we go. Yeah.
All right. That's definitely clear. It's always a
Yeah.
little weird with my AirPods.
Mm-hmm.
But as I was saying, there's also too much talent on US's squad. But
No, yeah.
it's the Dominicans taking it for me. I think, as you stated, the Mexican team is underrated because honestly, I love Julio Urias, and he is the most underrated baseball player. If anybody is following me on Twitter, it's all I can talk about.
Mm-hmm.
ERA title last year. He led the league in wins the year before that. How does this guy not get the recognition that he deserves? I mean, he plays for one of the most major markets in all of professional sports, and nobody cares about him. He wasn't even an all-star last year, as far as I know.
Yeah, I don't think he was. So yeah.
So, anyways, what else do we have for the schedule for today?
Besides, so for sure your pick is Dominican all the way.
Yeah.
For the Baseball Classic. All right.
All the way. They're going far. Are you going to go to any of the games, Dom?
I would love to.
Sure.
We'll see. But do you have any plans to?
I might try. I mean, what they're playing, they always play at Dodger Stadium, a few games there. They always do Petco Park, Chase Field. Like those are sorry. Got some dogs in the background. Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be an exciting time for sure. I mean, I think it really kind of unites. It kind of really unites better than, sorry, it's a madhouse here. It unites people more so and, makes you proud of your country, especially for these countries that thrive on baseball. Like, we haven't even talked about Japan. I mean, I don't really know who's going to be representing the team for Team Japan and teams like that, but the fans always show up, and you go to Dodger Stadium when the World Baseball Classic is going on. The Japanese people really fill it up, and I think it's the coolest thing ever. And it's just a cultural thing for a lot of people.
And Ohtani committed, didn't he?
That's right. I
Yeah,
think
so he'll
that's
be. Yeah, I
there
think he's going to
actually.
be leading. Yeah, he's going to be leading that. So
I wonder if like Tanaka is going to be coming back and maybe playing for Japan, or he might be too old. I don't know.
I'd love to see him again. He was always kind of, even though he was a Yankee, he was kind of one of my favorite pitchers just to watch.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for those Japanese pitchers. You know, going back a few years when I really first got into baseball, when I was maybe 9 or 10 years old. Hiroki Kuroda, man,
Yep.
on the Dodgers before he went to New York. He was one of my favorite players. He was so fun to watch. But yeah, I think we can talk about the teams all we want, but I think it's just kind of a cultural gathering, especially having it in these neutral ballparks and just seeing the heritages and the identities, going on. I think it's really a beautiful thing for the baseball community for sure.
No, yeah, I agree for sure. So what else we could get into? It's also coming out in March. I don't know how much of a gamer you are, but MLB The Show 23. They released the cover athlete. It's Jazz Chisholm. There's a little bit of controversy there with that too, just because a lot of people were expecting Julio Rodriguez, but I think MLB, they really don't do a great job of marketing their players, and Jazz Chisholm I think is a marketable guy. He's that fun, you know, swagger kind of guy out in Miami. I mean, we saw how he did last year, so I know a lot of people wanted J Rod, but I don't think I think Jazz deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, goodness, he could be what Fernando Tatis Jr. was a few years back. Let's just hope that Jazz doesn't go on the juice. I mean, I know for a fact that Tatis lost a lot of support from the baseball community for taking steroids, and Jazz kind of picks up the slack. They've had a few guys on the cover. They had Yasiel Puig and what was it, 2015 or 2016 on the cover.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And MLB was really trying to market him, let the kids play, that sort of, remember that marketing
Yeah.
campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were trying to bring players like that onto the cover that could be dynamic, that could be fun to watch. They were trying to market it like Madden, when back before Antonio Brown wasn't a total mess up.
Yeah.
He was on the cover. Forget, it was like maybe Madden 17.
Yeah, I won't say yeah.
Yeah, I just hope that. I mean, do you think there is an MLB The Show cover curse like Madden?
I feel like I've not every year, but I feel like there definitely has been show for it. I mean, with Puig, with Tatis, I'm trying to think who else has been through the cover. I know Donaldson was on the cover, and then that was after his MVP season. Then he went down a little bit.
Yeah,
because Ohtani was on this year or last year's, I guess. So
yeah.
you'd hope that he doesn't take the fall for it, but
Yeah. I mean, obviously the big thing is marketing this game to everybody. And I feel like they should bring back the let the kids play type campaign and, have players like Chisholm, and obviously Tatis will come back. He's learned his lesson the real hard way, taking steroids, and how that doesn't get you too far, and how whatever the heck he took wasn't for ringworms. So
right, yeah.
yeah, so yeah, you have these dynamic players that just need to have, some sort of discipline, but, just have that fun expression on the field that can be marketable for the general public.
Because along with that, and I don't think he's ever been in the game before, but they said yesterday that Jeter is going to be on the cover for the special edition. So he's actually going to be in the game, and yeah, I don't think he's been in any of the MLB The Show games. They just never had the rights for him. So this is kind of a big step up for them because Jeter's actually going to be not just on the cover but in the game.
Yeah. I mean, that reminds me of back when I was a kid on my PlayStation Portable playing MLB 07 The Show, and they had these funny names for players that didn't want their names used. Like Barry Bonds was Reggie Stalker. I don't know.
Yep.
You remember that. And
Yeah.
Daisuke Matsuzaka was, I think it was like Tate Bake or something. It was like something weird.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes back a long time, and that just shows how much I played that game. But Reggie Stalker,
I always remember that one. Yep.
That dude could hit a baseball, and obviously he was Barry Bonds.
Yeah. I hated facing that. Yep.
So, anyways, I am so excited to see what happens with this new edition of the show. I can't wait to check it out and play it. I hope that they're able to expand the build your own ballpark to multiple consoles and not just have it for PlayStation users, have it for the Xbox. I mean, we'll see what happens. We got basically 2 months until it comes out. It usually comes out maybe the week before the season starts.
Yeah, it's usually about that, around like opening day weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually late March when that starts. So it's an exciting time. And Jazz is incredibly stoked. I mean, who wouldn't be if you're on the cover of, your game's video game, your sports video game. So yeah. And hopefully, Jazz has an even better year than last. I mean, he had a very, very solid year. But I think he has more in store, and I think he's going to prove his worth even more so. And he's going to live up to the man on the cover.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I just want to make one quick, small little point with you.
Sure.
Because I know you'll like this one, but Ohtani's going to be a free agent after this year, assuming he doesn't get traded and signed. But obviously, I know the Mets are pretty heavy on him, but I know also the Dodgers are. So even with a biased opinion or not, what are your chances that Ohtani becomes a Dodger next year?
You see, I'd say you can be unbiased and still say that Ohtani is a Dodger just because of the fact that they really held out this offseason. I mean, Miguel Rojas is our starting shortstop.
Yep.
Come on, that's a telltale sign. People are going to say that it's the Bauer thing, but this is one of the most expensive franchises in all of professional sports. We're not going to care
barely
about
spend a dime.
Yeah, we're not going to care about eating $22 million for a player that hasn't played in 2 years with Bauer.
Yeah.
This is all a buildup for Shohei Ohtani. Andrew Friedman is very smart. He knows the pieces to get. This is why we went after Noah Syndergaard. This is why we went after JD Martinez. Low risk, high reward players that aren't worth a lot of money. So the Dodgers can field a team that is still super, super good and probably compete with. It's going to be a closer race this year. I can say that with the Padres, and obviously the Padres are going to go after Shohei as well. So
yeah.
I don't think they're going to get him just because they have to worry about the contract of Juan Soto. Manny Machado is going to be a free agent, and Manny Machado is a fan favorite out there in San Diego. And I just think there's a lot of factors that won't cause them to sign it, but they'll definitely be pushing the costs up it's going to be like a lottery for sure. Do you think he's going to be the first $50 million baseball player for per season? I mean,
what other guy is deserving of that right now? So
yeah,
you're getting two players in one with him essentially if he stays healthy. So I would say so. Yeah. He's gonna pass Trout's record. He's gonna be the guy. Maybe 600. Maybe he gets up to 600 million total. But whatever he signs, he's gonna have the record for sure. And I don't think it's gonna be the Mets as much as Steve Cohen and all them want to say that they have the money, which they do. But we saw what happened with Correa. We saw what happened. It's still the Mets. They find a way to fuck it up. So as much as I would not like to see the Dodgers become this super team with him, I see him being a Dodger.
Yeah, I think there has to be something said about the whole thing that the Dodgers are just being a little too quiet this offseason.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're not spending big bucks.
Because they let Trey Turner walk, and that was it.
Yeah, they let Trey Turner walk. They let Tyler Anderson walk. And you see the Mets. They just dished out all this money for Nimmo, for Jeff Neal, all these extensions, and getting Justin Verlander, and Max Scherzer's there too. So I honestly don't see the Mets going after him. I'd say his primary landing spot is indeed the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's established here in LA too.
Yeah, he already knows the market. He knows the area, the fan base. So it's kind of
exactly.
It's not going to be too big of a change for him.
Yeah, and it's definitely a longer flight from New York to Japan than Los Angeles to Japan.
Yeah, I know exactly. You got to go. Yep.
Yeah. So that's my take. Unbiased take.
Take. Yeah.
Of course, I want him. Of course, I want him.
Yeah, who wouldn't? I mean, if the A's ever wanted to spend more than $20 million a year on payroll, then shit. But our biggest signing was Aledmus Diaz, I think. So
yeah, but you guys just got Jesus Aguilar too.
Yeah, him too. Yep. So getting all the misfits
next year. The penny pinching franchise, but
So I wanted to bring up two football topics before we close it out. One, just because it just happened, but they kind of talked about it yesterday in the Daily Show, but Tom Brady retired. So in terms for the Raiders, he was kind of their, I think, plan A for a quarterback. But since he's gone now, it seems like plan B would going after Aaron Rodgers. And Davante Adams obviously played in Green Bay with them. They were he tweeted something yesterday saying that he pretty much answering questions for fans, and someone asked him what neighborhood was Aaron Rodgers moving to, and Davante said mine, which would obviously be in Vegas. So Aaron Rodgers, I mean, I'll put my opinion on it as a Raider fan, but Aaron Rodgers to Vegas, what would you say about that?
Yeah, I could see it happening. I could definitely see it happening. I mean, being in Green Bay, if you play NFL, you're obviously going to get a lot of attention. And Aaron Rodgers is, he's had a lot of controversy, especially with, the media and stuff like that. Whoever you support, I mean, he's just got negative backlash. And so I don't know what that market in Vegas would treat him like necessarily, but they need a quarterback. And to backtrack even more, I wouldn't even hold your breath about Brady. I mean, he retired once before, and he came back. So, and what? Didn't the Raiders just get the old offensive coordinator from the Patriots? So,
yeah,
yeah, and they had a close bond, and so I don't know.
I mean, I feel like he's for real this time. I mean, at least I hope so. All the crap that happened with him last year, he has to call it. He came back, he won a Super Bowl the year after he retired, and then he comes back 8-9 record and loses to the Cowboys in their
exactly.
You should have called it the year before, but
he didn't have
either way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But even for Aaron Rodgers, I mean, they're both. If it came down to Rodgers and Brady, I would have much rather taken Brady, because Brady, he's older, but he's obviously been proven to be a winner. He knows McDaniel's system, and he was going to be a free agent, so it would have been a little cheaper to get him. Rodgers, and my take as a Raider fan, getting him would just be, it'd be kind of a waste, because yes, we need a quarterback, obviously, but you're paying him that big contract. If you trade him over here, you're going to have to trade your first round pick, which is currently number 7, and probably more just to get him, and the Raiders defense has obviously been, there's not really a word for that. It's just been bad for the last 20 years, and this is a good year where it's a lot of good talent defensively on free agent markets.
It's a team on the come up. For
yeah,
sure.
Exactly. They have, especially after they let Carr go, they're going to have much more cap. They're going to have around, I believe, $60 million in cap after his contract's gone. You bring in Rodgers, you're just taking all that up. You have no room to improve the defense, and it's just going to be how the past couple of years have been. We're going to score points. We might score, 35 points a game, but defense is going to let up 40.
Yeah. I mean, you think about too, I mean, Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams obviously had chemistry over there in Green Bay. I mean,
Right.
what would that chemistry with Davante and Brady be like? I think that's a good question to ask.
And I feel like, because they obviously said in the beginning or at the end of the season, Davante said he wanted to be part of the QB decision. So he's making all these hints, like on his Instagram, he was posting videos of him and Rodgers in game. So I think he knows who he wants. And but it's hard because as much as, the draft capital and all that would cost, there's no other really better options. It's either we take a chance on a rookie in the draft or we go after someone like Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's not an upgrade over Carr. So it's Rodgers. It seems like it's Rodgers or bust at this point. So just kind of have to
it's
accept
funny that you mentioned Garoppolo, and now they're back to that 2 quarterback system where Brock Purdy is out for next year. So that was like
so I wouldn't be if Purdy truly does get Tommy John and he's out for the year. I do see the Niners backtracking on what they said and bringing Garoppolo back.
Absolutely,
because Trey Lance was already injured last year, so
he'll be healthy this year though.
No, yeah.
So,
but I mean, that's
that's a team that has so much talent that it doesn't really matter who the quarterback is. I mean, unfortunately, you see what happened in their last game, but goodness, Debo, McCaffrey, God, so much talent on that team.
And then, having the number 1 defense is obviously going to help your side. So,
yeah, exactly.
All right, so I wanted just close out one more thing. We can use this to close it out, but they did this yesterday on yesterday's show. So Super Bowl picks, Chiefs and Eagles. Who you got?
I got Chiefs.
Really?
Chiefs.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Mahomes is just too damn good. And they just have such a good team all around. There's just nothing stopping that offense. And I mean, it's so hard to say though, just because these two teams are just so evenly matched. The buddy was telling me that, I think, it's only -3, I don't know. I'm not really a betting man, but the advantage was just very, very slightly the Chiefs, just very much slightly. But it's going to be a high-scoring game. It honestly might be a shootout, and I would love to see a shootout. Hurts versus Mahomes. It's going to be a fun game.
Chicks won't be too appreciative of your prediction, but it's all right. I mean, try not to be unbiased, because I can't stand the Chiefs, but I still think just with the way the Eagles have been, they've been hot. They even playing a team with no quarterback with the Niners last week, they still have a lot of confidence. They're running on a hot streak, and who's to say, this team's better than the team they had when they won the Super Bowl back in 2018. It's so much better. They actually really do have a quarterback. They have much more offensive weapons, and their defense has just been a major upgrade. So
they're playing a better team, though. That's the small,
yeah, that is the thing. Yeah,
they're playing a better team.
I think it's going to be a shootout, like you said. I say it's probably going to be between 3 points, but
yeah. I think it's going to be 45 to 41 Chiefs. That's my prediction. Like 45 to 41. I think that's a safe score. I think both teams are going to score more than 35 points. So we'll see how it unfolds. I'm excited. I could be dead wrong. It could be the 2018 Super Bowl.
Rams it's like because what was that? That was like 13 to
3, man.
Yeah,
I remember that.
That was brutal to watch.
Yeah. Hey, we got it. We got it in 2020 though. That's all I care about.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right, so I think we can go ahead and close that out now. So that was the Daily Show for February 2nd. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. Once again, just a quick little side note, we got our guys Garrett and Mark out at the Senior Bowl over this past week, so make sure you guys are out giving them support. We'll put their Twitter bios down in the description so you guys can follow their content. But until tomorrow's show, we will see you guys later. Thank you.
Have a good one, guys. Take care.